In this video, I'm going to show you how I set up my looms with my students. These are the looms you can buy from multiple catalogs, but I don't have many left, so I'm just going to use them as tracers from now on, and then just instead of using the budget to buy tracers, I'm just going to have students make their own. This is what I consider beginner level weaving for my students, and I start this in grade 2. So I had students put this tracer on top of their cardboard, and I just chunked the cardboard up on the paper cutter, and I had students push the tracer up to the edge and then mark with a pencil all the little, what will be the notches, and then drag this down here. Marking the notches again. And then I had students take their permanent marker and mark all the notches for their loom. I had students number the notches. I did an odd number. I have students write the vocabulary words right on the project. So warp lines are always straight. So warp speed ahead. So all the little stars go straight past us when we go into warp speed. Have them draw like a little spaceship looking thing. We do our weft lines are our wiggly lines, and they go over, under, over, under, over, under. We label the loom, and we write weave or weaving. So all of the vocabulary words are right on the board. So when they take off the weaving later, they have all their words right on their loom. In the future, I may have the students paint one side of the cardboard, so if it doesn't come off, it would look fine on the loom, or either way. I guess it's fine to remove it or leave it on, but that way. But this year we are just running out of time, so I'm not going to have students paint their looms. So opening up the scissors all the way, I have students talk about this as like a letter V, the base of the letter V, the pointy part of the letter V, that if they open up their scissors all the way and just squeeze, I'm not closing the pair of scissors all the way, so I should go through showing them this. Then I'm just closing the scissors just a little bit to make the notch. Same thing on the other side. I show them from an angle what it looks like. I use a document camera during class to demonstrate all of this for them. Now we're going to set up the warp lines. So we get it stuck in that first one. And then I have the students match the numbers 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, 4 to 4. And that worked out really well. So I have students put their thumb here and then stick it through there so that there's space, because sometimes they're pulling it too tight and then after a while they can't get the yarn underneath. So that just makes it a little bit slack. Wrap it around the back. Come up to number 2. Put my thumb underneath. 2 to 2, 3 to 3. The numbers really helped my second graders My second graders are doing weaving on this board. My third graders are doing circular weaving on heavy paper plates. So I find that this is helpful to do in grade 2 so that they're ready for that project in grade 3. And then we tape those on the back because we need them for later to tie off the project. So I walk around the room and I give everybody a piece of tape. We talk about ripping tape with our tweezer fingers, tearing in opposite directions versus trying to pull the tape apart. So we tape these little guys down and we are ready to start the project. I did buy my students new needles. I find the plastic needles aren't really lasting that long, so I replaced them with some metal needles. And then I have a yarn store set up in the classroom where they can go buy some yarn. I'll have a separate video how to set that up. The easiest way I have found without all of your yarn ending up in endless knots in a bucket. So I've tried multiple different ways of serving the yarn. So students can go, they get the pieces that they want. We have our needle. We talk about it's okay to be frustrated and that this is going to be a learning curve in learning how to thread our needle. And we're learning to tie knots. A lot of my second graders don't know how to tie knots at all. So we're talking about tying knots and then beginning to weave. So under, over, in that pattern. And then we're going to pull it all the way through. If you're unfamiliar with this part, we leave the tail for tying off later, and then I have them push all the way up, or you can, if it's at the bottom, have them claw it all the way down, scratching it, keeping it together. And then we go back the other way. So if this row ended under, the next row is going to start over. Oops. And we talk about not pulling the yarn really tight because it starts to do this and cinch itself towards the middle, and it gets really difficult from there. So we talk about not putting a lot of tension and then pushing it up. This row ended over, so the next row will go under. Pushing it all the way up. This row ended, I can check myself, it was under, so this row starts over. You don't even need a needle to weave, you can finger weave if you don't have needles or don't want to give out needles. It's great for fine motor skills building. And I have length to go one more time. So under, over, under, over, under, over, under, and then push it all the way up. And then if they didn't tie the knot too tight, they can try to learn, which is also great for fine motor, how to use their tweezer fingers to untie the knots, wiggling their needle off. We can cut this a little shorter. Maybe they could do one more pass. And then they would begin their next color. This is an example from another class that I did the other day, and I just keep using this one over and over again. I've covered up the vocabulary words that I started with, and we just leave all these tails to the end to tie off later. When you remove a weaving from the loom, oops, it looks like this. So this was a bigger piece of cardboard and a bigger project. And that's it. That is the easiest way I have found to have students independently set up their own loom.